The desert sun was unforgiving that day. Its fiery glare reflected off the jagged cliffs surrounding the canyon, casting shadows that danced like menacing phantoms. 12 U.S. Rangers were pinned down at the base of a rocky outcrop, their vehicles destroyed in an ambush they hadn't seen coming. The enemy had been waiting for them, calculated, patient, and merciless. Each second felt like a lifetime, each second stretched thin by fear and uncertainty. Their radios were crackling with static, attempts to call for backup reduced to broken whispers. And that's when they heard the question, who was she? It started as a rumor, whispered among the soldiers. A name passed along like a lifeline in a storm. A Navy SEAL sniper, a woman whose reputation preceded her. They weren't sure if it was true, but in that moment, pinned beneath gunfire, every hope mattered. Captain Harris gritted his teeth, his arm bleeding from a shrapnel wound, and muttered under his breath, "We need her, whoever she is." The Rangers exchanged tense glances. Their situation was dire. The enemy had them surrounded on three sides, ammunition was dwindling, and the canyon walls seemed to close in like a trap designed for them. Hours had passed since the ambush. Dust filled their lungs and stung their eyes. Their training was rigorous, but nothing could fully prepare them for being outnumbered and outgunned, trapped like prey. A young ranger, barely 21, kept checking the horizon, scanning the cliffs, hoping for a miracle. And that miracle arrived, her. The first thing anyone noticed wasn't her presence, it was her precision. From the top of a distant ridge, she perched like a shadow, the wind brushing her hair back, eyes locked through the scope of her sniper rifle. Every movement was deliberate, controlled, almost surgical. She was silent, lethal, and utterly confident. The Rangers' initial skepticism faded as the first shot rang out, a single round that dropped an enemy sniper before they even had a chance to raise their rifle. "Who was she?" muttered Sergeant Coleman, his voice trembling, half in awe and half in disbelief. The Rangers had faced countless threats, but something about her presence inspired a strange mixture of fear and hope. This wasn't just another soldier, this was someone extraordinary. The enemy regrouped, thinking their ambush was working. But the SEAL sniper was relentless. She scanned the terrain, her scope picking out targets with deadly accuracy. She moved like a ghost across the ridge, disappearing behind rocks only to reappear in another vantage point. Each time she fired, another threat was neutralized. The Rangers could hardly believe their eyes. Their radio crackled again, this time with a voice steady and calm, almost impossibly so. "Rangers, hold your position. I have eyes on every exit. Don't move until I tell you." Her voice carried authority, even over the static. The Rangers obeyed instinctively, a strange sense of calm settling over them in the chaos. Time seemed to stretch, measured by the steady rhythm of her shots. She was saving them, but not from a distance that was impersonal. Every bullet was deliberate, each action precise. She wasn't just helping them survive, she was orchestrating their escape. Meanwhile, the enemy became aware of her. They called in reinforcements, desperate to locate the woman whose presence defied their strategy. Their attempts were frantic, chaotic, and ultimately futile. She anticipated their every move, her mind calculating trajectories, wind speeds, distances, and angles with a speed and clarity that bordered on superhuman. Inside the canyon, the Rangers whispered among themselves, piecing together fragments of what they'd heard. Rumors of a Navy SEAL sniper who could hit a target at impossible distances, who never missed, who had trained under the most extreme conditions, they were all true. She had been deployed in some of the most sensitive and dangerous missions overseas, but very few knew her identity. Her name wasn't even in most of their databases, she existed in the shadows, a phantom among soldiers. And now, here she was, saving 12 lives in a place where hope seemed lost. Captain Harris finally got a moment to speak into the radio. "Ma'am, we owe you our lives. Name, please." Her reply was calm, almost modest. "Name doesn't matter. Focus on staying alive. I'll get you out." It was almost surreal. In the midst of gunfire, explosions, and chaos, she made them feel safe. She gave them direction, a plan, a sense that survival was not just possible but inevitable. Every Ranger found their nerves steadied by her presence. The young Ranger who had been so anxious earlier tightened his grip on his weapon, eyes no longer darting nervously. The escape plan she devised was audacious. Using the canyon walls and the natural terrain, she guided the Rangers in a methodical retreat. She took positions that offered her a clear line of sight to enemy movements while keeping the Rangers covered. When they moved, she provided suppressive fire, ensuring they advanced safely. Every moment was tense, every step measured, but the plan worked. One by one, they made their way to a narrow ridge that led to safety. But it wasn't over. The enemy knew they were slipping away and intensified their attacks. Mortar rounds and small arms fire rained down on the Rangers. One Ranger went down, hit in the leg. Another nearly fell from a cliff edge. Panic threatened to take over. That's when she demonstrated what made her legendary. A single shot, fired from impossible distance, neutralized a machine gun nest threatening to wipe them out. The Rangers watched in stunned silence, realizing they weren't just being rescued, they were being protected by someone operating at the peak of human skill. By the time they reached the safe extraction point, the sun was low, casting long shadows across the rugged terrain. The helicopter landed, kicking up clouds of dust. The Rangers piled in, exhaustion evident on every face, every muscle aching, every breath ragged. The last thing they saw before lifting off was her, standing atop the ridge, watching them go, calm and composed, her rifle slung across her back. As the helicopter lifted into the sky, Captain Harris finally allowed himself a smile. Who was she? He muttered again, this time in awe rather than disbelief. Her world stories, one of the Rangers joked quietly, half seriously, as if naming her could capture the legend they'd just witnessed. In truth, they all knew it wasn't just a name, it was a symbol of hope, skill, and bravery. Back at base, they recounted the story to the command. Every detail, every shot, every calm instruction over the radio. Their colleagues listened, incredulous. Stories of heroes were common, but what they had witnessed was extraordinary. 12 Rangers had been trapped in what should have been a death trap, and yet, thanks to one Navy SEAL sniper, all 12 walked away alive. Weeks later, they still talked about her. Her identity remained classified to most, her feats almost unbelievable. Every soldier who had been saved carried the memory of that day, and the question lingered, who was she? What kind of person could operate with such precision, such calm under fire, such courage? And yet, those who knew even a fragment of the truth understood it. She wasn't looking for fame or recognition. She wasn't motivated by medals or headlines. She operated from the shadows because that was where she was most effective, where she could make the difference. Between life and death, she had chosen her life to be one of service, precision, and unwavering courage. The Rangers carried that story with them, sharing it quietly, reverently. When asked about the woman who had saved them, their voices carried respect, awe, and gratitude. They didn't know her full name, and perhaps they never would. But in their hearts, she became more than a soldier. She became a legend, a symbol of hope in the darkest moments, a reminder that even when trapped and outnumbered, extraordinary courage could tip the balance. Months later, long after the desert had cooled and life returned to a semblance of normalcy, the story of the 12 Rangers who had been trapped spread quietly among special forces. And always, the same question came up, who was she? And always, the answer, whispered with reverence, was the same, she is a Navy SEAL sniper. She is the one who saves lives when hope is lost. She is her world's stories. And somewhere, on a distant ridge, she watched, as calm and composed as ever, waiting for the next mission, the next moment where skill and courage could change the course of lives. If you want to hear more incredible stories like this, make sure to subscribe to Her World Stories, where we bring the most extraordinary real-life heroes and their unbelievable feats straight to you. Don't miss out on the stories that inspire, shock, and leave you in awe.